What's up, Pioneer family? So in this video, I'm gonna talk to you about a fall garden and all the amazing veggies that you can grow and harvest in the fall and winter months. So if you're just now getting started on this homesteading and gardening journey, you might not really understand this principle of growing a fall garden. Noah, what are you talking about? A fall garden? I thought you planted in the spring and harvested it in the summer, and in the fall, you might grow a cover crop, you might put some leaves on the garden to get it ready for next season, but I'm definitely not growing in the fall. And that could be further from the truth. You can 100% grow a bunch of different veggies in the fall, and a lot of them taste a lot better grown in the fall. Let me give you some examples, right? You can grow broccoli, cabbage, a lot of your brassicas you can grow in the fall. You can also grow carrots in the fall. Things like garlic, they have to be planted in the later fall, winter, early winter months because most of them need to go through that cold period. Now, depending on climate, but in my climate, I definitely need to plant it in the fall, and then you harvest it later spring, early summer. And also the leafy greens. Now this is my favorite. I saved it for last because it is my favorite. I think the leafy greens like your spinach, arugula, kale, lettuces, all those varieties of leafy greens, the mustards, I think they taste much, much better planted in the fall time versus planted in the late spring or the summertime. They just don't work that well in the summer. They bolt very fast, and they're also not super sweet and not super tender, right? When you plant these greens in the fall time, they have to make their own food, right? It's not as sunny out. They're not getting that food from the sun. They're making their own sugars to feed themselves, and the sugars make that plant sweeter. It's also a lot more tender because it's not bolting super fast. And since it's cool out, you're gonna get a more tender leafy green. And that's really what we're after if we bring them into the kitchen. Once we bring these veggies in the kitchen, that's what we want. So you're not gonna be growing things like watermelon, tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers. Those love the heat, and you wanna stick with those plants in the summer months. Start growing them in the spring, and then they're gonna love that summer heat, and then you're gonna be able to harvest. Now, once those are starting to get pulled up out of the ground, this is the time right now. We're in beginning of October. I think it's October 2nd when I'm making this video. This is when, at least in my climate, now I live in Louisville, Kentucky. I think we are now a zone like 7A. I think we moved up. We were a 6B, I believe, and now we're a little bit hotter. But regardless, in my climate, in October, this is when you want to kind of starting your fall garden. So all those things that I just mentioned, leafy greens, the brassicas, your carrots, your garlic, those are some great possibilities for you to grow in the fall. Now, how I'm gonna do it, especially with my leafy greens, let's talk about those for a second. I am still going to succession plant. So this week, it is October 2nd or 3rd when I'm making this video. The days run together. But I am going to plant a row of my spinach, my kale, my arugula, I'll probably plant some lettuce, but all my leafy greens, I will plant one row. Then in about a week or two, I will succession plant, just like you can do in the summer. And if you don't know what succession plant is, I'll make a whole nother video just about that. I might have a video already up on this channel about that, but I'll make another one. Succession planting is basically just planting one week, then a couple weeks later planting another row, then a couple weeks later planting another row. And what this does, it just gives you continuous food, right? So when you get to harvest, you're not getting bombarded with a ton of stuff all at once, but instead you get to pick from that first planting, and then you can pick from that second planting, then you can pick from that third planting, and just keep on doing that. So that's how I'm gonna grow mine. I'm going to sow a row of my leafy greens right now this week, probably right after I get done with this video, and then in about a week or two, I will succession plant, I will sow another row of those greens. Now, if I was growing like broccoli or carrots, I personally don't succession plant those as much. I don't really know why I don't do that, but with my leafy greens, I think especially because when you harvest your leafy greens, they go bad fairly quickly. They don't keep like potatoes, they don't keep even as good as like carrots. So I like to have continuous fresh food from the garden to my kitchen to my mouth. I like that fresh food. So I'm a succession plant. Now, with your leafy greens, you can also most definitely overwinter your leafy greens. Now, if you are in a climate that gets like insanely cold, like if you're in Canada or something, Michigan, and you're watching this video, maybe not as well, but even in those areas, I think you can still grow them over winter pretty successfully. I have a story about last season. I actually planted kale, and usually I would recommend, 100% I would recommend putting a greenhouse cover on top of your kale. So getting like a PVC pipe, making a little greenhouse, putting your frost cover over. Again, I will make a video about how to actually practically make a greenhouse cover, but put some kind of frost covering over your greens and then let those just stay the whole time during winter. And then in the early spring, you will have a super early crop of your leafy greens. So I will continue planting these seeds probably even like end of October, November. I mean, I will continue to plant my leafy greens very late in the fall and even in the winter, because once they sprout, you can just put that cover, that frost cover over top of them, and they will grow through, not grow tremendously, they will grow very slowly through the winter, but they won't die. And in the very early spring, before you plant anything else, you will be getting harvest. So now you will get the early spring harvest that you planted in the winter, then you will get your spring harvest that you planted in the spring, then you will get your summer harvest, and then you will get your fall harvest. It's a continuum. It's not just this one harvest, plant in the spring, harvest in the summer. In a garden, in your homestead, you can really be getting food all year round. You can be getting healthy, super good quality, microbial rich food and produce all season long, all year round in most climates. So don't forget that. Try that this fall. Now the story that I was gonna tell you, almost forgot. I had planted my kale last fall, and it literally got snowed on. I forgot to put my frost cover on. We had like 7, 8, 9 inches of snow, something like that. It was a lot of snow, probably even more than that last year. We had a crazy snowstorm here in Louisville, Kentucky. My kale got covered with snow. Come early spring, I had the most beautiful pieces of kale, super tender, super sweet, super tasty kale, and they had gotten snowed on. So if you have in your mind that you cannot grow stuff in the cold months, that is just not true. Get it out of your mind. Take it, throw it out. That is not true at all. Some of these crops are very frost tolerant, and you can get even, they breed them for frost tolerance. So when you're picking your seeds, you can pick frost tolerant plants. And some of these are very frost tolerant. They can go down to like -20 degrees. Now usually, again, like you don't want the actual frost on them, like you don't want it to actually snow on them. You do want to put a frost cover or greenhouse plastic over top of them. But like I just shared, I had tons of snow on my kale and it still even grew. Definitely don't recommend that, but it just shows you how these plants can be very frost tolerant. They can grow in cold weather. Guys, let me know in the comments below what you plan on growing this fall in your garden. Let me know where you're from, how cold your climate gets, if you can grow in the fall. Until next time, guys, peace out, love you, keep on this journey. Keep on growing, keep on eating healthy food, grow good food, and you can become way healthier, guys. Love you. Until next video, peace out.